Welcome to It's Later Than You Think, the podcast about living in the moment, enjoying the ride, and making the most out of our lives. I'm your host, Patrick Ailshire, a 40-something-year-old Wisconsinite, sharing my experiences and encouraging you to rethink time, purpose, and everything in between. Let's make the most of right now. Today is Tuesday, April 1st, April Fool's Day. March, it's come and gone. Classic Wisconsin weather. This past weekend we had Friday was a high of 75 in Milwaukee. On Saturday that was in the mid 30s. Nice little 40-degree swing there. I'm sure this happens in other parts of the country. People do like to say, that's definitely a Wisconsin thing or a Midwest thing. We do occasionally get the four seasons in one day. That has happened. But yeah, just some kind of wild stuff that goes on. I want to pose this question. Do you have any phrases that you like to use that either help you kind of talk yourself through things, that help you get a little bit of comfort in the day-to-day? Some of those phrases that kind of give you that peace of mind and help you realize that things are going to be okay in the end. A few that stick out to me are control what you can, this too shall pass, and another one I really like, which is going to be the topic for today, is that you can do hard things, or we can do hard things. One reason I really like this quote is that it's a good reminder that while things can get difficult in our lives, if we have a project that we need to take on or a goal that we have in mind, we create this thought in our minds. Our imagination can tell us how difficult something might be, but until we actually take the first step, tackle that first task, we won't realize that, okay, I have started. I think I can take another step forward. I can cross another thing off the list to get me closer to my goal or to completing that task or assignment, that resolution. I've had a handful of previous guests on the podcast since we've started, and each of them in their own right has done something difficult. Jake worked hard to pursue his music career. Marie, multiple passion projects and her photography career. James moved across the country for a writing career, for his education. Tyler went sober, started an NA account. He's an ambassador for other NA companies. Steve was open to work for almost a year. He plugged away, found a new job. And even Ashley, my guest last week, started a foodie Instagram account. All of those, in their own way, took courage. And at some point, each of those guests I mentioned were faced with a task of starting at some point. They had a goal in mind. They had something they wanted to accomplish. And I'm sure at first it seemed overwhelming, and maybe it still does. However, they have gotten to a point where they realize that they can do it. The phrase, we can do hard things, has been around for a while. I hadn't thought about it until recently. There's a podcast called We Can Do Hard Things. Recommend you checking that out. That is hosted by Glennon Doyle. American author, activist, and speaker who has gained recognition for her honest and insightful writing on women's issues, mental health, and spirituality. She is married to Abby Wambach, a former U.S. women's soccer player, and it's also hosted by Glennon's sister, Amanda. What I would like to do is go through a list of things we can do, difficult situations in our life, and how we get through them. I scoured the internet and a few websites. So, a breakdown of how to approach difficult situations. The first, acknowledge and accept. Recognize that hard things are a normal part of life and don't shy away from them. This is true. There are going to be times where you face something that is challenging. Break it down. Divide large, overwhelming tasks or problems into smaller, more manageable steps. This is something I do fairly often at work. There's a project that I need to work on. I look at the big picture at first, kind of the end goal. But if I don't chunk it and break that up into smaller tasks, I will then feel overwhelmed with the project overall. Another way, you can focus on what you can control. I alluded to this a few moments ago. Concentrate on the aspects of the situation you can influence, rather than dwelling on things beyond your control. This is just a great life quote and lesson for any part of life. Control what you can. Don't be so worried about what others think, what others say. You only can control your own thoughts. We control our own happiness in life. We can't rely on others. Seek support. Reach out to friends, family, or professionals for guidance and encouragement. It's great to bounce ideas off of friends and family. Could be your doctor, could be a therapist. Sometimes when we want more of an objective opinion versus subjective, a lot of times if it's people close to us, they're going to tell us what we want to hear versus maybe what we need to hear. Practice self-compassion. Treat yourself with kindness and understanding, especially during difficult times. A word I want to throw out with that is grace. Give yourself grace. The next one is learning from mistakes. View setbacks as opportunities for growth and learning, rather than failures. Celebrate small wins. Acknowledge and appreciate your progress, no matter how small. I like that one. Maintain a positive mindset. Cultivate optimism and focus on solutions rather than problems. Prioritize self-care. Very important here. Take care of your physical and emotional well-being through activities like exercise, relaxation, and spending time in nature. This is great. We all need to have some time to take care of ourselves. And a lot of times it's after we come down with a bout of the flu or a cold that we start to realize, okay, maybe I need to slow down. My body's trying to tell me something. Develop resilience. Build your capacity to bounce back from adversity by practicing strategies like mindfulness, problem solving, and emotional regulation. Focus on the future. Visualize a positive outcome and remind yourself of your goals and values. This is a great plug to have goals, to write them down, whether it's you're writing goal cards or you're writing something for the future. I do this a lot with my fitness goals. I might pick a day, 90 days in the future, and write that down and say, today is, so for example here, I could say today is June 30th, and I am feeling great. And then ... X, ABC, XYZ for whatever reason. Maybe I lost some weight, or maybe I followed a workout plan for X amount of days. Perhaps I focused on my nutrition really strictly for a while. Whatever that would be. Could be work related, could be family related, could be goals. But I think that's a good thing to, again, focus on the future, have those smaller goals versus creating something that's going to stress you out and give you anxiety. Similarly to what we talked about on our New Year's episode of coming up with those resolutions. Remember your strengths. Reflect on past successes and draw upon your strengths to face future challenges. Whether it's transferable skills that you have at work, whether it's your personality and what you can bring to the table, think about those strengths that you have to help you in the future. And again, past successes, what has worked well previously. A couple more to go through. Don't be afraid to ask for help. If you're struggling, don't hesitate to seek professional support. One more I'd like to go through. Remember that doing hard things can be rewarding. The effort and perseverance required to overcome challenges can lead to personal growth and a sense of accomplishment. Ding, ding, ding. That is the correct answer. All these are great. But yeah, doing difficult things is rewarding once you get over the hump, once you go ahead and do it. I've had plenty of those experiences over the last year where I went out of my comfort zone and tried something new. Think about doing it. Once you sign up for whatever it is you want to do, once you start to drive to the place that you're going to do that, that can be all nerve-wracking. But once you are finished with that activity, that task, whatever it is you did, it is rewarding and it feels good to have completed it, have tried something new, tried something that is difficult. When I think about difficult decisions I've made in the past few years, I think about changing careers, training for a marathon, starting a podcast. All of those things required some planning, some effort. There was definitely apprehension. However, I followed the advice that I shared with you today, planned things out, took my time, one step forward. And like most things in life, it all works out in the end. And if it doesn't, you learn from your mistakes, you pivot, and you try again. Feel free to follow along on our Instagram and Facebook pages. It's Later Than You Think podcast. You can like, subscribe, and share any of these episodes on your social media. We'll see you next week.